So yeah, welcome. So quick disclaimer: we are independent of the AP College Board. We're not registered nor affiliated with them, and nor are we endorsed by them. So a little bit about us. Probably sure you've heard about Five Hive by now. We are a completely volunteer-based organization. We do a lot of make AP resources accessible and help you study. So hopefully you're able to lock in and get a 5 on the upcoming AP exams as well. So additionally, if you are interested in what we do, you like seeing what we do, please be sure to apply for Five Hive. We would love to read your applications. We'd love to have you in, and we do take applications on a rolling basis. So if you are once you submit it, we will be reviewing it and making our decision to likely accept you as soon as possible. So with that being said, Unit 3 is mostly about perfect competition, which is just how the market works in a completely free market where there is no regulation or very minimal regulation, and which is what we see mainly in the real world. For example, with a lot of places, for example, mom and pop shops, these are a lot of perfect competitions. Everybody's trying. There are a lot of firms and trying to make profit in this one industry as well. And to be able to consider that, we also need to understand a few things within this unit, and these are the resources that need to go in order to make things. So, for example, you have fixed resources, you have variable resources. Which fixed resources, as a given, it is fixed; they do not change as the cost does not change. The resources that you don't need more or less of as you produce more and more and more. Whereas variable, you will need more and more and more, or less and less and less, where they change. And then we also will be looking at two time frames throughout this course, where we have short run and long run. So short run would just be a time frame with at least one fixed resource, whereas in the long run everything is variable, because in the near future everything is going to be very easily subject to change. So with the production function, we analyze with a relationship between input and output. So how much you put into an input, for example, labor, the more you put in, how much more or less are we going to be getting out of it? And we see this as a relation by drawing a graph with the total product, your marginal product, and average product over here as here. So we see with this graph a few formulas that you will be needing throughout this course as well. Your total product is just how much you make overall, like grand total. Your marginal product, marginal again being additional, as you make more and more output from more resources, you see that the marginal output, which is how much more you get from an additional worker. And here with this graph, if you want to notice, there are a few trends. If anyone wants to type out in chat, they see if they identify any trends, like is your product going up or down, your marginal product, your average product, for example. So feel free to mention anything if you have any observations as well. So with that being said, your marginal product, a couple people are typing. Your marginal product is just your additional output generating from hiring one more worker. So if you hire one more worker, how much more or less are you making? So with the case of marginal product, it usually goes up, as we see with this graph here. We see it eventually starts to your marginal product will increase, and then it starts decreasing at an increasing rate, and then it becomes negative. And then there are a few reasons that why the graph is shaped as is this way. Yes, as I've mentioned, this recording is going to be this is recorded, and we will be uploading it on the Five Hive YouTube channel. It's YouTube. The is at fivehive.org. I can also send it to you a little bit closer to the end of the lecture as well. So, in regards to the curve, your marginal product will rise, and then it starts to decrease because of specialization. So specialization is just when everybody's able to do one thing. So one worker focuses on something that they are good at. So for example, if you're good at doing this one task, whereas another worker is better at another, splitting it based on this line or this basis is much more efficient for them, because it focuses on their strengths where they're able to maximize their output. And when everybody's able to maximize their output, everybody just is able to produce more and become more productively efficient, using as much resources as they can. And then it starts to fall because of fixed resources and the law of diminishing marginal returns, because you're adding so many resources to a fixed variable resources into a fixed resource. So for example, the idea of too many cooks in the kitchen, right? When you have one or two workers in the kitchen, it really starts be able to do a lot of things. However, the problem with that being said is that you can only have so much space in the kitchen, and when you keep adding more and more workers in, more and more likely you're going to have workers starting bumping into each other, causing accidents, right? So which ultimately makes your product decreasing productivity as a result. We can also place these lines onto one graph where we see your average product is rising when your marginal product is greater than the average product as seen here, and your total product is actually at a maximum when your marginal product equals 0. So this is just when how much more you make in total. So the area under this graph would be your total product here by multiplying quantity of labor by output. And then here's just a practice question based on this graph. Feel free to vote in the poll as well. Create one and where we think the law of diminishing marginal utility will begin as well. So I'm just going to create a poll. Feel free to type out something in the chat. So feel free to vote. Also, while you are at it, if you don't mind, we are doing feedback surveys, so if you are finding this lecture helpful or you find it very useful and you want to see more similar lectures and for other subjects in the near future, please be sure to fill out the survey and let us know what you think at the end of this survey. So these are just questions on what you liked, what you want to see differently, and how we can make your experience with some of the lectures that you're seeing better for you and your learning needs as well. So if everybody could kindly take the time to fill this out closer to the end of their stay or at the end of the lecture, that'd be really greatly appreciated. So as for the answer, it is D. I think most people are saying B, for instance. So the main reason why it is D and not B is because as we note with the with your marginal utility, you're looking at your marginal variable cost here, your variable cost here. We see that it starts to decrease, and then it starts to increase right here. Therefore, your marginal cost again here, it starts going right back up as a result. Now with short run production costs as well, the production of goods, again we mentioned with similar to having two types of resources, fixed and variable, we also do the same with costs, which are the same concept as fixed and variable. And we also need to understand that the total cost is your fixed cost plus your variable cost, which again, your marginal cost is the additional cost that it takes to produce one more unit. Your fixed costs are again always constant, and as well your variable costs are always going to be variable in the long run, meaning that all costs are going to be variable in this instance. And we see that with the fixed cost, we see that it is $20 with this situation. So meaning that no matter what, it doesn't increase more or less and doesn't change. And we can calculate the average cost as a result of each item, the average variable cost, which is how much everything costs usually after averaging everything out, which would just be your cost over quantity, which to calculate all of these respectively. Your marginal cost can also be calculated from this graph. Anybody know how they would potentially find this, the marginal cost? Feel free to type your answers out in the chat, and I will slowly go through most of them, or all of them. Snow, yep, that is correct. Your marginal cost is going to be the change in your total cost, because this is how much it is increasing in. For example, the marginal cost between this unit would be 10 because the total cost is going up by 10. Then it would be 5 because that is how much it costs additionally to create one more extra unit. And then we can keep doing this with the rest of the table as well. As for the stream, if you're not able to see it, try refreshing your page. That's usually how most people are able to use it. I can also send the slides real quick as well, so you can feel free to follow along with us as well. As for this, we are able to calculate all of their marginal, variable, and fixed costs here with by doing the same thing as well. Your fixed cost here, your average fixed cost is again going to be your your fixed cost over how many units you're producing. Because your fixed cost is 20 and you're producing 1 unit, it's 20 over 1, 20 over 2, and then this number continues to decrease as a result of your fixed cost. And then it eventually will never hit 0. It will never go below 0 because it remains as an asymptote to there, meaning that it continues to go down at decreasing rates. Additionally, your variable cost you calculate again very similar way, same exact way. However, with the variable cost and as well as your total cost will be the same way as well. And then this would kind of be how your total cost curves would look like. Your fixed cost will never change. Your total cost and your variable cost will continue to increase as a result, being so when you produce more and more units. So with your average cost curve, we see that with this curve, this is going to be a very common curve that you'll see in Unit 3 and as well as also Unit 4 as well. By analyzing this graph, actually, you see your marginal cost is increasing, your total costs are following the same rules. Your total cost is decreasing, then increasing as a result of economies of scale. Your variable cost same as well, and then your fixed cost continues to decrease because other units are offsetting your fixed cost as well as you produce more and more. So if you guys would like to answer some of these questions, feel free to do so. I can quickly go through with the answers later on. I see a few of you are typing, so I'll give you a couple seconds. And I see most of you have actually gotten it right. So basically, to really understand how to find the cost of producing these units, we simply draw the line from the graph at the quantity of 10 units, which comes down to 15. Doing the same for 20, we see 5, and as well as for 30 units, you get approximately 25 as well. I've done my very best to make these numbers as close to their real numbers as well. So hopefully, by doing that as well, you can also analyze the answers as well from just the lines and the numbers corresponding to each of these 3 questions as well. So, yeah. As for your average cost curve, you see that it increases as a result of it decreases and then increases as a result of specialization, and then the law of diminishing marginal returns, and as well as your marginal product curve actually being the inverse of that, because as more workers produce less output, you're decreasing it because the productivity decreases since you're having more and more workers in the kitchen. Therefore, it does start to become slightly problematic for a firm by hiring too much workers. As for your long-run production costs, all costs are going to be variable in the long run because they change depending on the production supply. Usually for a long run, because it changes, because the future is generally going to be very uncertain, as we see right now with the current economic standings that we see within society as well. We see a very important concept that we see as a result, economies of scale, and this constant and then diseconomies of scale, as we see highlighted with the colors as well. So that's just when you are able, economies of scale is when you're able to just produce more and more for less and less and less at a per unit cost. This is where your average total cost is usually going to be decreasing, and then where here your average costs are going to start to really increase as well. And then here the costs really don't change, as they are generally going to be stagnant. And as well for your long run cost curve as well, they're going to be made up of multiple short run curves. So for example, like this, and then your long run curve would generally be the best fit line for all of these as well. So 3.4 generally now involves some of the kinds of profits that we see from a firm. So a firm, there are going to be 2 types of profits that you're going to be looking at. Your accounting profit is generally going to be very, very straightforward, which is simply just the money that you make from selling goods and goods and services as well. So you're taking away expenses away from your total revenue. So just by subtracting that, you simply just get how much a firm either makes or loses. However, it does get a little bit more tricky with economic profit, which is how much money a firm can make after factoring not only these accounting costs, but as well as your implicit costs, which are opportunity costs as well. So, for example, if someone is making $120,000, however, they could have done something else and made even more money, you not only account your salary of $120,000 as your accounting profit, you also look at where else you have made money, where, for example, your next best option was doing something else, pursuing something else for $200,000 within that same time frame for those same resources, which you gave up $80,000 of foregone income that you could have made. Therefore, you're at an economic loss of $80,000. So a really good way to think of economic profit is, are there better places to be making money? Are there better things to be doing right now? So if your answer is no, then probably your economic profit will be either 0 or more. And again, just because you have a 0 economic profit does not mean you have you're at a net loss, because as for accounting profit, you're just accounting for how much money you actually do make, whereas economic profit is just how much more money you could have made as a result of your the decisions that you make here. So again, with profit maximization, this trend will be very similar through when firms want to optimize the productions to cut costs and maximize profits. The main reason why firms really want to maximize profit is because they're in the business to make money, and this point is always going to be MR is equal to MC. So whether you're in a perfect competition, whether you're in a monopoly or an oligopoly or in any form, you're always going to be, this will always be your maximizing point of your profit maximizing point. This is where a firm is going to be able to make the most profit and be the most profitable in their situation as well. So your profit can again, very simple calculations by calculating your subtracting your cost, average total cost at that quantity from your total revenue as well. So to find total cost is cost and quantity, same with average total cost. However, for your average total cost, you're going to be calculating you're calculating the area of this square as well. So from this table, to calculate total revenue and average profit, we would just take around here average 20 at around 25 multiplied by at around 20 minus 15, so 25 times 5, which would be $125 as your profit. Or sorry, 25 times 5, which would be 125. And then here you see with the profit as well here. The area here shaded in blue is going to be your average cost, whereas your green is going to be your total profit as well. By adding both of these, you find your total revenue as a result. So this would also be the same rule for profit maximization, even if your marginal revenue curve MR is still going to be below your average total cost. What this means when it's below is just you're making a net loss, meaning that you're not very profitable, you're not making very much money, which is going to be slightly concerning as a firm. However, if you continue to produce here at this point, this will for most instances, your best point to continue operating, doing business, continue making money, where you minimize your losses here. Your profit maximization point or your loss minimization point in this instance here would be in this case as well. So as we see with this firm losing money from producing, they should continue operating. And stay in business, continue producing at this output where they minimize their losses as well. So to calculate loss, very similar to calculating profit, where you find the total revenue and then you subtract from your total costs as well. So finding total revenue here, 20 times 10, $200. And then for your average total cost at this output level will be 260 because 13 times 20 yields such, and therefore you end with a loss of $60 as well. Wonderful, you can see the screen, lovely. So as for profit as well, we see that generally in the long run you're going to have no economic profit as a result, where your graph is going to be your MR curve is going to be here and down here in line with that as well. And with economic profits in the short run, however, you see that because you are making money, other firms want to make money as well and do the same thing as well. We're going to see more and more firms coming into this market and try and make the same money that you're making. So if you're getting rich fast, if your friends see that you're getting rich fast, I think they also want to join in to make money, right? Like, who doesn't love money? And as for the average fixed cost, it always decreases because as you produce more and more units, you're dividing by more and more numbers. So, for instance, dividing 20 by 1 yields your average fixed cost of 20. Dividing by 2 is 10. 3 is 6.5-ish, which continues to decrease as you produce more and more units. And then, as for the relationship with quantity, it is an inverse relationship. So, yeah. Yeah, perfect. Hopefully that clarifies. As for your profit here, you find the profit again, which you find from the difference between the MR and the average total cost curves as well. We see that with profit, this profit will be neutralized as a result. Similar instances goes with the loss. As you're losing money, more and more people want to make money elsewhere because there are better places to be making better money. Therefore, firms are going to leave this market and try and make money elsewhere. Therefore, as a result of that, we see that your quantity your quantity decreases, and as well, therefore, your price increases as a result of that. We can again really tie this back into Unit 2 as well, because your MR curve is going to be the equilibrium price. So as you shift the demand curve left or right, and same goes with the supply curve, your MR is also going to be changing as well. And because in perfect competition, your firms are going to be price takers, meaning they take whatever the equilibrium price and sell it is at that rate. They're going to be following it as that equilibrium price changes, goes up and down as well. So this would just be the instance as well, because they are price takers and follow this price as well. And when it comes down to drawing an FRQ that asks you to draw the graph between your market and your firm, it's really going to be important that you draw this arrow, trying to link it back here, because your marginal revenue is going to be that equilibrium price, and meaning that is the price that they charge as price takers. And for those of you who are joining us, if you haven't already, please be sure to take the time to fill out a short feedback survey about what your thoughts are on today's lecture. If you're finding it helpful, if you're finding it useful, please be sure to fill it out at some point during the end of the lecture, or when you when you do leave. It helps as feedback to help us improve these lectures, help you meet your study needs, and help you ace the upcoming exam in just a little bit over 2 weeks. So to continue to run, if they're able to they are able to maintain their variable costs as well. We'll talk about the shutdown rule here as well, where the shutdown rules when they should shut down. So if they go below the average variable cost, in that instance, it's better to simply just shut down and accept the fate that they are at a loss, and try and do business hopefully elsewhere. If you are in green up here, you are if your MR curve is somewhere up here in green, that is when you are making economic profit. As a result, you're making money. You have your best option as well. And if your MR curve again is up here, you should continue staying in the firm. However, if you are and usually if you in the yellow area, this is when you are making a loss. However, you should continue to operate and continue to start producing your goods as well. The main reason why you should continue to operate here as well is because your fixed cost is greater as well. So therefore, it's better to just offset it by creating products to pay for this fixed cost as well. However, when it does drop to the average variable cost, which is the cost it takes to directly produce your goods, by simply shutting down, you eliminate that variable cost and forgo it, and therefore accept your defeat of making a net loss as a result. So here's just a practice question. If you would all like to, feel free to take a chance to take a crack at. This would just be finding the firm's net profit or net loss. So are they making money, or are they making a profit, or are they making a loss? And here, and should they shut down? Why or why not? I'll go through the answer a little bit later on. I think you're referring to marginal cost being fixed, because when you're producing nothing, you have no variable cost. Therefore, your average total cost is as such. I know that this is a really weird way to think of it, but usually your marginal cost is the additional cost. If you're producing 0, your marginal cost is going to be 0 because it costs 0 additional money to produce additional units from 0 because you're producing nothing. Your marginal cost will go up eventually as you produce more and more as a result, though. I see a few of you guys are typing in regards to correcting the question. As for a quick hint here, assuming this is 25, you would just calculate your start with your total revenue 25 times roughly 20. So therefore it is $500. And to find your marginal revenue, which is your total revenue at this quantity, 25 times 15, so 500 minus that would yield a answer of that. And then to calculate this, it is firstly you can find it as easily a net loss because your marginal revenue cost is below your average total cost. Therefore, you're losing $125 producing at this loss minimization, aka profit maximization point. However, although it is making a loss, it should continue to operate because we need to be mindful of the shutdown rule, is that it should continue to produce as it is within this area as well because it is not below the average variable cost. If the marginal revenue was down here, then you should shut down and accept the fate that you are making a net loss as a result. So now this is where the bulk of the skills that you come in from Unit 3 will really come together to learn about the different market structures. Unit 3 and 4 are going to be the most common questions that you're going to be seeing on your AP exam in 2 weeks, especially when it focuses a lot more on on the types of market structures and competitions as well. Unit 3 mainly focuses on perfect competition in this range here, which is the free market and with very little to no regulation. However, as you progress more and more into Unit 4, you're going to learn a lot more about how barriers to entry really affect how markets operate as well. And then your perfect competition examples would really just be mom and pop shops really just taking whatever price out there, trying to get as many customers in. Whereas you go on the other opposite end of the spectrum, for example, the College Board. So I'm assuming a lot of you guys are taking exams, AP exams. The College Board is the only company or so-called nonprofit that administers exams that provide university credit as well, because they are a monopoly. That's exactly why, probably without the help of government subsidies like me, you're paying close to hundreds of dollars per AP exam. And then there have been a lot of allegations out there that regard to College Board with very monopolistic practices. I'm sure if any of you guys have heard of see their prices. Essentially, they are price makers. Therefore, they can charge as much as they want to. They can upsell you as much as they want for their AP exams. Theoretically, they could charge you $200-300 for a AP exam, which is absurd pricing, and as well, I'm sure all of us would rather not see because it is yes. So cough cough College Board, which is why we are here to make things a little bit more accessible for you. Yes, you could say that energy companies as well, depending on a lot of places as well. A lot of them are natural monopolies, which we'll talk about in our next session, which is on Tuesday the 29th, on much more on this basis as well. They are, however, natural monopolies though, so they're very similar, but they exist for in a different context. Ooh, okay. That's it. If you can't make the recordings, that's exactly why we record the lectures, so everybody's able to watch and rewind wherever they are in the world, because we do believe in making AP resources and such study tools accessible for everybody. So that's that. So yeah, for sure, you're more than welcome to do so. As for perfect competition, there are a few characteristics that apply to a perfectly competitive market. We see there are many small firms, and we have to note the word many, because there are going to be a lot of firms trying to sell the same identical product in the same market as well. They're trying to reach the same reach. As a result, we see competition trying to emerge, trying to make as much money as well as they can. And then they have no price control, meaning that they are price takers, and they take whatever the equilibrium price is, which accounts for this curve out here, this one. Because they are price takers, if the supply was to change, like if the supply was to increase, your new equilibrium price would be down here, and then they would have to take this price here, because if they were to try and sell up here, consumers would try and go to other firms that would be able to sell them for less. Again, we see with the visualization here with this graph here, again, really important to draw the arrow to show that there is a direct correlation as well. As for studying for multiple choice questions on the exam, that is a really good topic that you brought up. There are a lot of resources out there. I know Khan Academy is a really good one. I know a couple people that actually use it and have said it's really good. Alternatively, 5 we actually have a really good website, and we actually have a lot of resources there as a result. So on our website, actually, sharing this tab, you can actually go through with here AP Micro, for example. You can see there are a lot of multiple choice practice questions that we've created. So you're more than welcome to take a look at some of these, and these are all designed to reflect the AP curriculum and as well as their CED as well. Yeah, definitely. You should utilize the resources here. And then again, we should also note that because they are price takers, they have no control over the price. Therefore, charging prices above or below drives consumers to or away from other firms as well. And then demand in a perfectly competitive market is going to be perfectly elastic, because as your demand increases or decreases, that also has a direct result on price. Consumers are going to be very responsive to these changes as well. So for example, if the price was to go up, you're going to be buying at another firm that's able to offer it for cheaper as well. And then this again will result in your curve. Mr. DARP, how many guys have heard of Mr. DARP as the acronym? Yeah, definitely. Mr. DARP is a very commonly and very good way to memorize it, which would just be your marginal revenue is equal to your demand curve, which is also equal to your average revenue. And because your average revenue is equal to your marginal revenue, because firms in perfect competition are unable to price discriminate, meaning they have to sell everybody at the same price. And this would just mean your average would be the same as your marginal. Because, for example, if you're selling something at $10, your marginal revenue is $10, therefore your price is $10, and therefore if you sell 10 units at $10 each, your average revenue will be $10 as result, resulting in your line to be completely horizontal, following the equilibrium price as well. Yes, to make things clearer for your AP marker or whoever is scoring your exam, you should do MR is equal to D is equal to AR equal to P, Mr. DARP, to really show that you understand the concept and to show the direct correlation as a result. A lot of teachers do use it as well, so it's not just an acronym. It seems to be a lot and very universally recognized as a matter of fact. So this would just be your Mr. DARP as well. So you have multiple curves acting as one, which shifts as a result of shifting of Mr. DARP. So hopefully you like stock images here. You can take a couple seconds to admire this lovely man, Mr. DARP. So your demand is going to be perfectly elastic, because if your price is going to be increasing, consumers are going to be responding to that price change, whether that's going to another firm or buying it from somewhere else. This means that they're going to be shifting away, and therefore this affects the firm, because as their price increases, their total revenue would decrease as a result. Yeah, Mr. Darp sounds like a very corporate name. Hopefully, this lovely dude here gives you a little bit more of a corporate vibe. He's just your stereotypical businessman. Lovely, lovely red tie, lovely suit. So, yeah. So again, in perfect competition, you're going to have both allocative and productive efficiency because there is going to be no deadweight loss as a result. Allocative efficiency is just meeting what society needs. You're producing at a point that society at a point that society demands. So you're meeting the needs and the wants and needs of all of society, and not just producing whatever is best. Additionally, with productive efficiency, you're actually producing it at the lowest average total cost curve, at the lowest point. Therefore, you're lowering your cost to produce as much of it as possible, where you try to maximize the concept of economies of scale. Firms in the short run, however, are not going to be productively efficient, as they will not be producing at this ATC minimum. However, they will do so as a result of entering long-run equilibrium. Here again, as mentioned, all firms will eventually hit long-run equilibrium, and how they do this is when there is economic profit. This profit is going to be neutralized by more or less firms entering or leaving the market, therefore changing the quantity of things in the market, and also changing the cost as well. So, for example, if the supply decreases, therefore the resource becomes a lot more scarce, and this also results in your price falling as a result, falling to the lowest ATC point, and as well as your MR hitting MC at this point, where you have zero economic profit as well. And again, when you have you can also draw two graphs to correlate the situation, where your demand decreases, therefore you decrease, economic profit is neutralized as a result. As for the presentation, everybody should have access now. Try refreshing your page. So now, what about transitioning from long run to long run equilibrium, after we've just talked a little bit about transitioning from short to long run? Oh yeah, so productive efficiency, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So productive efficiency is when you're meeting all the demands, is actually when you are at this point, MR is equal to the demand curve. Which demand is actually just Mr. Darp in this instance. In monopolist, in imperfect competition, that is going to be a different scenario where it continues to follow the demand curve, DARP, not marginal revenue. So it always is equal to demand because you're meeting the demands of what society wants. So hopefully that clarifies. So if it does, hopefully it does. Yeah, no problem, no worries. If anyone else has any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will do my best to go through as many as I possibly can. Now back to transitioning from long run to long run, we have two types of firms, two types of industries actually. So within industry, we have constant cost industries where as a result of the long run equilibrium cost going up, the demand is ultimately going to the demand and price is ultimately going to change, resulting by neutralized increase in supply. So for example, when your demand increases as a result, we see that the price is going to go up here. And what this means is that because firms are seeing that other firms are making economic profits because the price has gone up, because these firms are making a lot more money, we see that other firms are also going to hop in to this industry. We see in the instance of increasing output as well. So not only are you increasing the price, has it increased, but this price increase has ultimately been neutralized by a increase in supply. So we can visualize this with the graph by following the arrows, where your MR curve goes up, and then later it goes down back to where it started, resulting in no economic profit in the long run. And then, however, on the contrary side, with increasing cost industries, is when the price of when the equilibrium price, we see very similar that producers want to produce more to hop into these profits. However, the difference with this situation is that when this happens, the cost for everybody actually goes up. So, for example, it's kind of like the saying that good things can exist. So, for example, if you're making money, other people want to take that away from you, and therefore Now as a result, nobody can make that money because your cost has gone up as a result of this. Your profit actually doesn't change. However, more so your your total costs do change, therefore driving up the cost and therefore driving up your price. Now, with that being said, this pretty much very closely concludes much of Unit 3 being perfect competition. We're also going to be talking a little bit more about imperfect competition and how monopolies are impacting the free market as a result of this. We also, by putting all of this into perspective, there are a few questions that I have put together and curated for all of you to feel free to take a shot at answering. So, yeah, if you want to try answering these questions, feel free to just do so in the chat. I'll create a poll. So the great thing about Unit 3 actually is, for now, it is pretty easy and pretty straightforward with perfect competition. However, when it comes to Unit 4, you're going to have a lot more curves, a lot more lines on the curve. Therefore, it's going to be a lot more important to master the concepts in Unit 4. With Unit 3 actually being said, perfect competition is a form of price takers, where the market responds to the firm responds to the industry rather than the firm dictating the industry as a result. Now here's the second question. If you have already answered, if you need more time, I'll switch back to number 1 if you would like. And then I do also have another one. So this is a little bit more tricky. So which of the following industries would in this industry would what would they do when the price is $80? So would they leave the industry? Would they stay in the industry, or do they have no incentive to do either? I see a few of you guys are putting in your ballots, which is great. So we can first of all eliminate A, where firms will start to leave the industry, because when your price is at $80 here, the shutdown rule applies only when it is below $35. That therefore eliminating A. B, firms are losing money, which is true. However, they will stay in this industry, possibly. C, they have no incentive to either leave or exit the industry. So because firms are not in the industry, they don't have an incentive to leave or enter. Probably not. And then D, firms will start making economic profit. Remember, economic profit is up here, so therefore probably not. And then your E, firms will start entering the industry, so probably not when you're making a net loss, leaving your best and only option as B. So hopefully that answers it as well. Feel free to check here as well. And yeah. Ultimately, that does conclude the Unit 3 lecture. By the way, for those of you who are new, for number 2 for E, actually, I'll talk a little bit about that after. So if you haven't already, please be sure to fill out this lecture feedback survey on what your thoughts are on today's lecture. If you want to see things done differently, you're more than welcome to fill out this survey, as your feedback will help us improve and tailor this with how you're able to master your AP microeconomics skills and really be able to lock in for the exam as well. So your feedback is anonymous and it's greatly beneficial to help us improve as well. As for As for question 2 being E, your total cost is going to be $1,000, and your fixed cost is going to be $400 as well. Your average total cost is going to be 600. Is $600. Your variable cost is going to be $600 for all of these units. And then as for 200, you're going to be dividing it by 200 units. Therefore, it should be $3. I think I may have messed something up with the with my answer key, so my apologies for that. But if you did put B, you should be correct. Or sorry, C. Yeah. So hopefully you guys found this session helpful. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any point. And if you are interested in Unit 4, 5, and 6, please be sure to mark yourself as interested for those sessions. Those sessions will be coming out very soon as well, which also cover very similar concepts as well. I'm going to be posted right here. So be sure to click interested so you don't miss out. And that's pretty much it. I'll stop the recording.